Hi everyone. So my name is Parvez. I work at Siemens. Fresher I started, and even so our topic is like Spring Boot. Okay, in Spring Boot 3.0, they have introduced observability. Okay, so what observability feature does here? So earlier it was only monitoring. So in our monitoring, we used to check the logs, we used to find where is exact error is coming, and we just collect the logs and we just find like okay, here is the problem and here is the system down. Just we came to know in this particular API or the particular method or the particular service, our service is down. But in this one, Spring team, they have introduced observability to find out exactly where the error is and how we can identify it. It's not like only we're just identifying, it's also we're identifying where exactly it happened. So it has basically three pillars, basically at the definition: logging, metrics, and tracing. Logging in a sense, you will get the logs, right? You might be using, if you're using Spring Boot, SL4J for logging. So that way logging, metrics, timestamp values, and traces your request where flows from which service to which service it flows. So in traces, you have span ID, trace ID, okay. So that way, this three pillars works. And basically, observability, what it says that we are understanding the internal, state of a system. With that output, we are understanding how exactly the system is running, and if you are facing some error, it won't stop there, or it won't just give like there is some error, just a red line of that. No, not like that. So it will observe particular point at which service the error occurred. Okay. Here is a quite some difference between observability and monitoring. And as I said, it tells where exactly is the fault, but in monitoring, it just notifies that it has a fault. Okay. And observability acts as a knowledge base where we can get inference from it. Like monitoring focuses on more faults, where exactly it happened to fault. Like we just need to monitor it. Okay, it has happened in this place. So in observability, it gives context, and in observability, there are two things called context and event. Event, I can say like an error is also an event, and context I can say like at which place. A place can be said as a context, but event can be said as like a error, a state, the scope is open, the scope is closed. So in that way. So basically, this Spring team made this in this way, after monitoring, we can say like the upgradation of the monitoring, we can say it's the observation in a simple way. Okay. And now this observation API works based on these three APIs. First observation, then observation registry, then observation handler. So in order to identify where exactly the error happened, what is the events are happening, we need to have a observation handler. So it handles all the observations what are happening throughout the flow. In order to register the observation handler, we need to observe it first. So we need to have the observation. In order to register the observation, we need to use with the observation registry. So these are the main three concepts, three main things which we are going to use here. Like from beginning? Sure. Yeah, I'll just. So this topic is observability. Okay. So I focus on more on like observability than monitoring. Earlier we have monitoring, even now we have. Okay. So monitoring focuses on the fault, where fault happened, but observability focus on where the fault happened and why the fault has happened. So with the help of observability, by using some of the APIs, we're just identifying at this service or at this microservice, the fault has been occurred. If we are taking it in a very higher level picture, we are using metrics for timestamp values. At this point, this has been occurred. Consider our system is running for like 10 or 15 minutes or just 1 minute. By using the timestamp values, we can understand how long our system is down. Then again, we can understand with some request. Anyway, we are using Spring Boot, so web, okay. The first thing occurs is web request, okay. The first observation. When the first web request is happened, then the timestamp is recorded. Then our scope is open for some of the service like service one. Then we can identify the difference. Okay, once our request open, from there to that time, it was open, it's still down. Then it got down. So for that one, we are using metrics, logging for understanding exactly what happened with the naming conventions. So this was I was telling about. And the flow is here is whenever we invoke a service or the request is come, always it will be in a stop state. Okay. It's not in a, it always a stop state. Moreover, going observability, the feature, we already has the observability in our Spring Boot also, okay? But we just don't see. Consider like whenever we hit a endpoint, that's where the scope starts. It will go into start state, then scope open, then scope close, then stop state. So whenever you hit an endpoint, localhost colon 8080, and you don't have any API, okay? So what happens then? It will go to the error state. Then it goes to scope closed, scope start, scope open, error, scope close, stop. So this is what happens normally with the Spring Boot application request response.
Exception or
yes, exception.
Fully stop or solid.
Yeah, that's why we use exception handler, right? So even we are using exception handler, we just make it, go into, we just map it like bad request or some other way request, even if it's server code, we just map it to some other way, right? Some other, we just forward it, okay? But here I'm not going to forward anything. It will just give you error here. But in that way, in observation also works like that way, like we're observing the error here, exactly where happened. So for that one, I'm making myself to throw the error for our application purpose. Okay. Just for simplicity, I have taken only two APIs, okay, two endpoints. First one is no observe, just trying to find the current year, and another with observe a current year, okay. And I'm trying to log the result in my console itself, okay. Before going through that, I'll just explain how observation I have registered here with observation registry and the logging one. Yep. So here I'm using just the simple logging handler, okay. I'm not putting any much complicated stuff here. You can see the state right, start, stop, and all. Okay. So I'm just using the help of observation handler. Okay, I'm using and context as well. So whenever the state goes to start, stop, error, these states, I'm just trying to log these results here. So in this way, even I can use the metrics or for traces, Zeppelin, help, and all. Just to make simple, I just use logs here so that I can put it in the console.
Similarly, we can use with Spring for the
yes.
side is fine and everything we can.
Yes.
But then what is that?
For just a quick one, as you asked me, okay. Like I'll just show you like how exactly. Okay. Now we have our configuration of observation. There I have defined the first observation registry so that I can register my observations. And that with the help of, I can utilize the observation handlers whenever the flow of events occurs. Yeah, same. Now I am using observation registry now. There I am, giving simple logging handler, which I have used to override the method start, stop, error, open scope, close scope. Just using the 5 normal or override methods over there. In this context, so in this approach, I have used this observation. Consider this application. We have like 5 to 6 applications. I have created this is one application where I have used this observation. Like I am handling some database for this one. So I have made the name is like DB observation. If I have some other application, I would have made like something like tracing application, sorry, tracing observation or service one observation in that way. Okay. Now, so you can see that with the help of observation registry, I have registered that one. I mean, registered the simple logging handler. If you can see here, whenever it triggers the on start, I'll just give that, start in the context name, exactly where it has been occurred, the error and all, in a similar fashion. Okay. So now I'll go with the flow. I'm trying to get just current year. Okay. Just trying to get a current year here. But purposely, I just given here so that I can, throw exception here, randomly given boolean. Whenever it comes true, it will throw error. Whenever it gives false, it won't throw the error. Okay. So whenever it throws the error, yeah, I'll just show the output here. So if you can see, our endpoint is no observe and / error. Sorry, year. So the same one I'm using here, no observe / year. Okay. If you can see, might be the application have given false over there. So it worked without any problem. Okay, you can see here, it came start, context, then the scope was opened, then the scope was closed and got stopped. But you can just you can put some right here, like work for the request, not for my observation. It internally has this request, open, close, and all. So it works for the request, not for my one. Again, I will hit this one. You can see here, now error got occurred, okay? Because it might have given the true over there, the boolean. So the error got occurred and service accepted. So this is how the normal flow works, okay? You can see here, normal flow work. The scope got opened, got closed, and got stopped, and we found the error exception, okay? Now the same API, I'll check with the observation one, okay? So the flow I'll show here, whenever I have my logics, which is in the service layers, okay, there I will trigger my observation. If you can see here, I'm triggering my observation start, okay, where I have opened the scope in this phase. Then I'm expecting some logic is there and some unknown things happen, true or false, which in turn gives to the service exception, okay. When it gives the service exception, basically it catches the exception, but here I am giving that error to the observation, okay. And more importantly, we need to close the observation as well. So I'm going to use this endpoint observe here. So possibly it has error. Oh, sorry. So if you can see, for the request, it started, then the scope opened. Now for my DB observation, so this is my custom observation, which started here, where the scope got opened. Now you can see here what is the event occurred. So in the event, the context name is my DB observation, and the event name which worked, which given the current year is 2023. Okay, then the scope got closed of the DB observation, then it got stopped, then the request got stopped. So this is how the normal flow. Okay. Yeah. Now it might have given the true over there. Okay, the boolean. You can see request scope open, then DB observation started. If you can see in the event, it showed error occurred, and the context name is DB observation and the error, and it showed here. So that way we are making inference from it, like at which service or which method level this thing got making the error whenever we are using the distributed systems. Similar way, let me just mimic myself here. Like I'm using that we can see in Zeppelin. Zeppelin is used to just understand whenever you hit the endpoint, you can see which endpoint you hit, what is the response, what is the request, then the error it will show you. I have not integrated because my system has some host issues. If I installed also, I need to take container IP address and put it, it's kind of chaos over there. So that's why I just kept it into logging way. So now if you have observed, consider it like, that request went to some other service. And now you can see in the event, the context name is changed to app observation. It is not the DB observation. It's like, you can able to know at which service the error got occurred and which, at which part of the code. So that way, using observation, you can easily able to identify where the error occurred. So coming to your part, but basically, like if you even use span ID also, you might face like you can able to understand. Like whenever your request is going, consider your request went from controller to the service, it will have the same one only, right?
You are telling about with different applications, right?
Only we will have span ID also, trace ID also same. But with this only we'll able to understand exactly where it occurred. See, I just given with the observation, at DB observation it happened, or at app observation it what happened. Okay. But always you see, might be in early application it was Spring Cloud Sleuth, right? There span ID and trace ID sometimes it got works as like same way. So I don't remember much, but we are making it, over there we are creating one more scope. Okay, even for span ID also, so that it will create a new one, not the same one. So that way you can do that with the context. So coming to the question, as the one, okay. See here, even the observation has its own observation text publisher, which uses the simple one, okay. But I have used my own like simple handler, which I have defined start, stop, scope, open, close, everything my way. It already, it even has own itself, okay. Next, coming to the point, the actuator things which you said, you can see these things you can register default meter observation handler, where so you don't need to do anything. You just need to have the dependency of the actuator and just register the default which they have already given you. So it automatically get fits the points and provide you. See, it is here the actuator one. So in the same way only which I said you, they are using the meter registry one for registering the actuator metrics. So this way, once you register with the actuator, simple, you can use with Prometheus and Grafana and you can visualize it. So this way, whenever we are using monitoring, we can just able to understand with the graph where it got down, not rising, or this is the one we can understand. And even the span also, with the clutch Spring Cloud Sleuth also, span it in trace ID, we can able to just track a common ID. Even there we need to use scope. We need to open the scope. We need to close the scope. That way only we can achieve where exactly the request went. Then the request, then the trace ID should become unique, not the same. Or else wherever the the flow goes, always the trace and span it will be same. Thus I conclude myself like whenever we are using observation, making in a simpler way. If we want to define our own observation, okay, use your simple like logging handler where you can extend it to observation handler, then register with the observation registry. Or if you don't want to put in a logging way, you want to put in actuator or metrics, you can use the one they have which they have provided by Spring team. That way you can able to achieve in the actuator and endpoint metrics.
Okay, look at it this way. What do you monitor? Something you know. What do you observe? Something you don't know about. You observe and react, right?
Yes.
When you're monitoring what? You're monitoring is you're being proactive. You are waiting. Okay, let's say database transaction logs are filling it up. You can set a limit. If my transaction logs go beyond this, do this activity. So you're monitoring that. But you're observing your systems over, say, 3 months to understand, oh, when I have a sale in the month of 15th day of the month, my transaction logs have a tendency of filling up. That is your observability defined out of a monitoring. So observability always talks about what you observe and understand. You're identifying patterns. You're interpreting out of it. Monitoring is something you know you want to monitor. Anything, it can be any parameter, any health, any parameter which defines the health of the system. I'm not saying this from my own office. There's actually a piece on observability and monitoring in Google, which actually talks about the steps of it. If you read it, you will get the exactly, because a lot of people, it's difficult, right? And with distributed systems and especially microservices, everything is described. So how do I go across from one microservice to another? Where is my bottleneck? Which microservice do I need to scale? That is why OpenTelemetry, open tracing are very important aspects. If you see, OpenZipkin is actually a project, if I'm not wrong, in CNCF, right? So if you see the CNCF map, it's like, you go bonkers, man, there are 200 companies, 200 libraries out there. What do? They let you instrument your product without changing your code. And when that happens, they're charging us not for the dashboard, they're charging us for letting them create the dashboard without the developer changing. See, any code change is humongous. Imagine as a million lines. How do I change million lines in configuration? That is what New Direct is allowed. So that is the benefit of this. Here it's happening. Spring being a very popular framework, being integrated into that. So today, I think with a bit of tweaking around, maybe and see, we have always heard every commercial product always has open source alternative. OpenZipkin is the open source alternative. There'll be companies which will build dashboards on top.
No, I am adding it in a separate configuration. So the thing which you asked me, okay, so we can specifically put to the methods, okay, with the help of @observe. So where I will define here the key values here, name, contextual name, and with the help of this cardinality values, user type and user type 2, I can take that into metrics as endpoint. You can see the username will be user span name, and the type 2, type user type and all use as a tag for metric and the span. So that way, not going in a very longer way as which you asked me, not going to a verbose, just with the help of the annotation observe, we can define it for customized methods, for individual methods that way. That's all my from end. If you have any questions, you can.